They turned MLK into a dreamer and Malcolm X into a monster. The truth? The FBI and media erased King's war on poverty and Malcolm's hedge transformation to control the narrative. It's 1965. Television sets hum with static, casting a blue glow across living rooms. On screen, Martin Luther King Jr. clutches his Nobel Peace Prize, his face serene, his words about unity clipped into neat sound bites. Papers crown him the good Negro, the pastor of peace. Across town, Malcolm X's voice crackles through radios, his phrase "by any means necessary," sliced from a longer speech, looped until it sounds like a war cry. The New York Times brands him apostle of violence. A cartoon in the Chicago Tribune sketches him with fangs, eyes wild. The frame is set. One man dreams, the other destroys. But the frame is a lie. FBI typewriters clack in dimly lit offices. Memos stamped COINTELPRO piling high. One, dated March 1964, lays it bare. Make King look communist, Malcolm look insane. Wiretaps hiss as agents listen to King's late-night calls, scribbling notes on his doubts, his anger. They leak to reporters. King's too close to Reds. For Malcolm, they feed stories of paranoia, twisting his warnings about government surveillance into delusions. A 1965 headline screams, "Malcolm X, madman or martyr?" The public eats it up, unaware of the hands pulling the strings. The tension builds. King steps to the pulpit at Riverside Church, April 4, 1967. His voice trembles, then steadies. The United States is the greatest purveyor of violence in the world today. The crowd gasps. He calls the Vietnam War a demonic suction tube, draining black and poor lives for profit. The words burn, unfiltered, radical. The next morning, 168 newspapers swing. The Washington Post calls him a disgrace. The New York Times sneers, "King's gone too far." President Johnson, once an ally, stops taking his calls. TV static drowns his speeches. Networks cutting to commercials when he mentions economic justice. The dreamer is becoming dangerous. King slumps in a hotel room, his staff finding him with red eyes. "They love the dreamer," he whispers, "but they hate the prophet." Coretta's diary, pages creased, holds her frustration. Reporters ask about dreams, about marches, but never the poor people's campaign. That campaign, King's 1968 plan, terrifies the powerful. A multiracial poor people's army, black, white, Latino, Native, set to occupy Washington, D.C., demanding an end to poverty. Not a dream, but a siege. The FBI's SM-65 memo, declassified years later, orders, prevent King's radicalization by limiting airtime to "I have a dream." His speeches on capitalism, marginalia scrawled in his notebooks, built on exploitation, must burn it down, never make the evening news. Across the divide, Malcolm's story fractures too. February 1965. His house firebombed, his children screaming as flames lick the walls. Days later, he's gunned down, blood pooling on the Audubon ballroom floor. But rewind to 1964. His passport stamped Cairo, Mecca, Lagos tells a different tale. In Mecca, he writes a letter, ink smudged from sweat. "I've eaten with blue-eyed brothers. True Islam removes racism." He prays shoulder to shoulder with men of every hue, his worldview shifting. At Oxford, December 1964, he declares, "I'm against any form of racism." The U.S. press ignores it. Life magazine buries his Mecca letter, instead running photos of him scowling, a rifle in hand. A headline from the New York Times, 1965, twists his words, "Malcolm X, apostle of violence." His actual quote, from a speech in Detroit, "I'd die for any black man, but whites must let justice roll." The contrast glares, a deliberate cut. But the greatest distortion wasn't about the men, it was about the movement. Fred Hampton, young and fierce, builds the Rainbow Coalition in Chicago, uniting Black Panthers, Puerto Rican young lords, and poor white Appalachians. They feed kids breakfast, open clinics, talk revolution. The media, silent. A 1969 FBI memo calls Hampton's coalition a threat to stability. By December, he's dead, riddled with bullets in a pre-dawn raid. The Chicago Tribune calls it a shootout. Autopsies show 99 bullets fired at Hampton, one from his side. The coalition fades from headlines, its vision of class unity buried. The years roll on. By the 1990s, King's image is polished, his anti-war signs airbrushed from March photos. A TV producer, interviewed in 1995, admits, "We cropped his placards on poverty, on Vietnam. They didn't fit the narrative." Corporations churn out MLK mugs, t-shirts, posters, his "I have a dream" speech etched on everything. His calls to dismantle capitalism, "We must reorganize society," are scrubbed. Malcolm's post-Hajj evolution, his push for global human rights, is reduced to a footnote. Textbooks paint him as the angry foil to King's saint. His Mecca letters rarely quoted. Both men, once threats, are now safe, their edges sanded down. The distortion hardens. In 2018, a Super Bowl ad uses King's voice to sell trucks, his words on service twisted to push profit. Social media floods with MLK quotes. Always the same: unity, love, dreams. His 1967 warning, "A nation that spends more on bombs than hospitals is sick," is nowhere. Malcolm's face glares from murals, but his Oxford speech, his vision of universal justice, stays buried. The movement they fueled, the one that linked race and class, war and wealth, is fractured, its roots obscured by design. The static fades. King's voice, raw from 1967, cuts through. We are confronted with the fierce urgency of now. Malcolm's letter from Mecca echoes, "America must change or face judgment." Their words, once silenced, still burn, waiting for ears to hear them whole.